So congratulations on the film. I was there last night. The audience certainly laughed in all the right parts, were shocked in all the right parts. Where did this idea come from?
This idea evolves from our childhood, really. We can trace it back to that of like growing up as kids in Iowa, and just over the course of our friendship and professional filmmaking relationship, having conversations about religion and like, why do we believe what we believe? Why do others believe or not believe what they're told? And also the idea of like, what happens when we die? Like, that existential quandary that looms over our every waking head and the terror that invokes in us. We wanted to find a way to convey that on screen.
And then we just had this like insane idea of like, is it possible to do a scary movie where the scares are all located in the ideas and the dialogue? We felt like we hadn't quite seen that before, where it's more of a kind of a cerebral horror. Certainly, we hadn't attempted anything like that before, so we were excited about the big swing of that kind of concept.
And when you wrote this, did you write the script with Hugh Grant in mind?
I mean, it was never written with anybody in mind, but there became this challenge of like, who can, knock this out of the park? It's 120 pages of dialogue that has to not just be read, but be performed at times very, politely and charming, but then on a dime turn into a darker place. And I think it kind of became inevitable as soon as the germ of the idea of Hugh Grant came into our brains. It was like, this has to be him. It cannot be anyone else. He waxes poetry with how he's able to like convey ideas, and he's this highly intelligent person, not just on screen but also in real life. And his way of investigating things as an actor down to like a single word on a script is completely, blown us away with working with him. So.
And I've got to imagine you're having all kinds of conversations on set, not just about the themes, but when it comes to some of those, they are almost monologues for him.
Yeah.
How much changed from the script to working together on set, specifically with Hugh in those longer sort of monologues?
Well, Hugh, much to our excitement, was very reverential with the dialogue. He didn't want to break it. He knew where all the jokes were. He knew where all the beats and the suspense. He has an uncanny ability to look at a piece of material and feel what the audience is going to feel once it's performed. It's really amazing to watch his mind work as he kind of like talks through a scene. But having said that, like he's also very present, and every take is a little different. And because it's very real to him. He is Mr. Reed. He's not Hugh on set. And so there's so many little like ad libs and improvisations here and there that he would sprinkle in that would like kind of blow our hair back. Like one that comes to mind is when he's talking about like we'll have the pie come, and then he's like, pie, he like screams pie to his wife in the other room, and it's like it's a weird choice. It's like that was not scripted, and it's kind of this like moment of like, is he Jack Nicholson from The Shining, or is he this like nice welcoming guy? I can't tell, and Hugh just knows how to like shift gears and hit those moments. It's amazing.
And one of the great things about this film is that there really is that balance between some of the lighter moments. Like people were laughing at the premiere.
Yeah.
Why was that balance so important for you to get right between the more existential, heavy, scarier things?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's trying to capture the reality and being in an uncomfortable situation where you're trying to gauge, am I safe, or is there something dangerous around the corner that I'm not quite aware of, but I'm feeling it in the temperature of the room. And I think humor is a great way to kind of, unnerve people. Sometimes I feel like in moments where we've been in uncomfortable situations, we always try to tap into what is the reality of that. And I'm thinking of this one time that we were location scouting, going door to door, and as like early 20-year-olds, and going into a home that seemed perfectly quaint, perfectly nice. An elderly couple answers the door, and all of a sudden, we're pitching the idea that it's about this asteroid that's coming to end the entirety of Earth. And they're like, oh yeah, that asteroid's on its way in a few months. And all of a sudden we're just, are we going to be murdered right now or not? And it's tapping into like that discomfort that I think is so unique to a human experience. So.
And Sophie and Chloe are incredible in this because it really is the three of them together in almost the entire film.
Yeah.
What makes each of them perfect for their roles?
Wow. Well, they're so different as individuals, as people. You know, Sophie is she's got this kind of dark intellect and this kind of like moodiness that's very cool, and we love that for Barnes. And Chloe is much more kind of bubbly and almost more of a free spirit, and there's a kind of naivete on the surface and an intelligence beneath the surface that is surprising. It really felt like when we were auditioning them, it felt like we had written two people that already existed. But they're tremendous actors. I don't mean to like say that they're just playing themselves, because they are absolutely not playing themselves. But they just had qualities that felt tied to these characters. And then working with them, they went so far beyond what we thought they were capable of as performers. We hired A+, the best actresses in the business, and then they went even farther than we thought they could. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they are real friends. Like, I 100% bought them in that role. I like that one of the themes of the film is really iterations and iterations of the next thing. Do you see Heretic as an iteration of anything?
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the movies that we were talking about that inspired us was Inherent the Wind, like this old classic that, you know, tackles the idea of like science versus religion. I would also look at like movies like Night of the Living Dead or Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that are these horror movies that on their surface you can just enjoy for what they are, but if you dig beneath the surface of those, they speak about things that were going on in the culture of America at the time. And I think like horror is kind of this institution that allows you to talk about things that otherwise in other genres you can't necessarily say that out loud. Jordan Peele's Get Out is another recent example of like a movie that plays the audience so well from an entertaining thrill ride, but says so much about culture. And so this is, I think, standing on the shoulders of those movies, where we're just trying to take what we've admired about those films and try to put that into Heretic. So.
And then I want to talk a little bit about the actual set design of the interior spaces that we're in, you know, with Mr. Reed's house. What was that like, coming up with that, you know, design, the filming of that in that space?
Yeah, well, you know, the movie is it is a chamber piece, and it is very dialogue and performance driven. But we also wanted it to be extremely cinematic, almost unexpectedly cinematic. And so we love the idea of this house that kind of evolves as the story evolves, and you're never quite sure what you're gonna get. Even in the first kind of opening rooms, it's like this kind of quaint. It's kind of cute. It's kind of weird. It's like you can't really tell. And then the girls get a little further into the house, and we talked about how like Reed always has like Mr. Reed loves an elephant in the room. He loves something that's odd and left of center that everybody sees, but he doesn't talk about. So like when they get into the library, this idea of like these like two doors that are just on the wall, and they're colored different colors. There's a purple door and a green door, and he doesn't mention them. And we're just kind of all staring at the doors going, what's going on here? We just love that kind of, you know, that suspense that can be generated out of the set itself. And of course, the movie gets crazier from there as we get deeper and deeper into the house. But it was a fun experiment to kind of build and conceive of this house that's almost like a Mobius strip of sorts, and maybe a little bit of an ode to Dante's Inferno as well.
Which, you know, you have some references to in the film. You said last night that, you know, you've been working together since you were 11, making things up. How has your process together evolved from 11-year-olds to now?
Yeah, well, I think like us working together since we were 11, like it doesn't necessarily feel that much different from when we were making like, you know, stop motion movies with our action figures. What's been fun is like being able to go through, you know, years together of like struggling to like make ends meet and trying to like be filmmakers and find our voices, and then let that evolve, but also let it evolve as like a challenge to each other to like do your best. And that's one of the great things about having a partnership in this industry, is like being able to, you know, see each other expand and expand each other and really, you know, go through the highs and the lows with somebody that you can also call your best friend. So.
And then finally, you know, you movies that scare people, themes that people find scary. What scares each of you in terms of films?
I feel like what scares me has been really put into Heretic. I mean, it's really the big questions of existential dread of what's going to happen after I'm out of this body. I mean, that is probably at the forefront of my mind more than I'd care to admit.
Yeah, the fear of death is just a big topic we always come back to, and just a fear of like what is life, what is life's purpose. Why are we here? Are we here for a reason? Are we here not for a reason? These are the things that scare us, and this is why this is the reason why there's this kind of weird cerebral, spiritual, horror in the movie Heretic. It's stuff that keeps us up at night.
Oh, it's fantastic. Congratulations again. I'm excited
Thank
for
you.
more people to see it and, be able to talk to them about it.
I know,
Oh,
we're
totally.
excited.
I think
Thank
there's
you
going to
so
be some
much.
interesting conversations.
We hope so.
As people are walking out of the theater.
That's
Yeah, I hope so.
That's all we
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much.